So we'll get started here in just a minute. We're just waiting for people to get. I should start singing, create some background noise.
I think that's a great idea.
You haven't heard me sing.
I think I may have a little bit at one point.
That's right. That's right. Oh, God. I remember going into a church one time in Florence, Italy, and kneeling down and praying to God, God, if you want me to be a singer or an artist, please tell me. And I never got a real answer. Laura, can you tell how many people are signed up at this point?
Looks like we have 21 in attendance.
Okay. Great. We'll give it another 60 seconds, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
So if you're just joining, hang on. We'll get started in just a minute. Just waiting for people to register. Okay. Well, Laura, let's get it started.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, or if you're in other parts of the world right now, good afternoon and good evening. This is Laura Walker speaking. I'm on the Vivit Board of Directors. I currently hold the Education Chair, and I also help out with the chapter SIGs and LIGs. I've been on the Vivit Board since June, and I oversee a lot of chapters as well. I run a lot of chapter events, so you may have seen or heard my name. I have the pleasure today of introducing you to the person who's going to be doing the training for you this morning. The purpose of the training is to give you best practices that we as chapter leaders that have been running events for a while have come across to help you better plan and organize your events and make them go smoother so you can avoid some of the pitfalls that we've learned. Today's presentation is going to be done by Rocky Piso, who we affectionately call the godfather of Vivit. Many of you probably already seen and heard from Rocky. He's trained in many, many Vivit leaders over the past decade. Rocky is currently the Vice President of PCI Solutions. He's been there for the past 25 years, so he has several decades of experience in the HP ecosystem and with the Vivit community. He's a chapter leader and founder of Ohio and Michigan chapters. He's been running those chapters for the last 13 years. He currently is a chapter leader for Ohio, Michigan, Chicago, and Indiana chapters. So Rocky has lots of great real-world experience in doing the same types of events that all of you do on a day-to-day basis. Rocky also held the membership chair on the Vivit Board of Directors for 6 years. He's received a couple of awards from Vivit in 2007, the Outstanding Service Award, and in 2010, the MVP Award winner. Now, there is a limit to how many awards you get. If there were not, I am very sure that Rocky would have an award every single year. But since there are limits, he's had just 2. So you'll be in good hands today. Feel free to interrupt with any questions that you have. Rocky is definitely the guy who can answer all of those questions. A few housekeeping items as we get going this morning. This is a live session and is being recorded. Therefore, everyone is automatically muted. The recording will be available to all Vivit leaders. So navigate your way to the Vivit Leader page on the website, and you can view a copy if you have questions or want to hear something again. To find the pane, if you don't see the windows appearing on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a little orange arrow button. If you click on that arrow, that'll expand the different panes, and you can see on the right-hand side a pane that says questions. If you'll simply type your question in. I will interrupt Rocky as we're going and ask the questions as we go. So feel free to use that pane if you have questions as we go. I will now turn it over to Rocky.
Laura, thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction. As you can tell from my resume, I think I've been here too long. But there's a reason for that. I've got a lot of passion for Vivit. When I started this thing as a chapter leader about 13 years ago, it was basically to bring customers together. They asked me, where can I go to learn what other customers were doing with the technologies, the best practices, and those kind of things. And ever since that, I tell everyone that if I wasn't married, I probably would have been a parish priest, because I just love bringing people together. Well, we've got a full agenda for you today. So as we go through this session, again, feel free to ask questions. It makes it much more entertaining than listening to me for an hour, and we can go from there. But if you're here to be on this call to learn about how to engage with HP, or learn how to do a better job of growing your chapter, creating events, getting people fired up about using the technologies, then you've come to the right place. If that's not why you're here, then you can leave, because that's the focus of today's agenda. The Vivit organization, the board of directors, the Vivit staff, a number of us are working very closely with HP, mainly within the marketing organization. HP marketing has gotten a new lease on life, it seems like, in the last year or so, and they are mandated to work with the Vivit community to support the end user experience of the technologies that they sell and support. So they are reaching out to us from every aspect of marketing to reach out to customers, to coordinate their field salespeople, to guide them for Vivit events, to promote Vivit activities to the customers, to the users in that area. So we're seeing a lot of activity there. And one of the goals for this session today is to prepare you as a Vivit chapter leader for that call when HP does call you and ask you, how can we help grow your chapter? How can we provide updates to your community and help you answer some of those questions? So we're going to share with you today the conversations we've had with HP and why. We're going to share with you how to prepare working with HP and how you should be leveraging the resources that they have to offer, and try to give you some tips and tricks on successful chapter leaders. I've been doing this for a long time. I've worked with a lot of chapter leaders. I've heard all the why I can't have a meeting, why I can't pull a meeting off, why I'm having trouble. And believe me, it's called perseverance. You don't quit. You just keep on going. So I've got a full agenda here. I'm not going to read them all off at this point, but we're going to be diving into this as we go. So we want to share with you first an update that we're having with HP Software Marketing. They are looking for new ways to partner with the Vivit community. They are looking to really engage us in every aspect of the things that we do to support the end users and the end user experience to be successful at using the technology and growing their careers. HP Marketing has finally seen Vivit as the strong, independent group focused on the success of their users, the HP software customers. So they're realizing we have something that they really can't duplicate. We have that real-world, good, bad, or ugly, as I always say, experience discussions with our customers, with our users, that they definitely need at this point to help grow their business. And over the past few years, probably since the, I would say since we became Vivit from the OpenView Forum days, Vivit has been embedded in the HP ecosystem. We are on their websites. I think one of the latest revelations that we've been trying to do with HP for a long time is find a way that to provide a Vivit opt-in every time someone purchases software from HP. So based on the electronic methods that HP licenses new software licenses, apparently there is a vehicle there or a marketing piece that says join Vivit, the official user group of HP software. So we see the numbers of our group growing exponentially as software is sold around the world. And we're actually seeing a lot of activity in parts of the world that we never have in the past that may affect some of you as chapter leaders. HP Software has realized that we have something very unique. We have over 100 chapter and SIG leaders that are volunteers. Volunteers, people that are bringing people together, creating events, engaging the user community as volunteers, which means we have passion. We have something that is more than just a paycheck to bring customers together, to bring the user group together. So it's a very unique scenario. The Vivit community is made up of a tremendous talent. We call it a coined term from Karen Simonson, one of the board members, the best and the brightest. You guys have so much talent. You know the software better than anyone. You've been working with the tools for a long time. There's a lot of value there. So HP has come to us and said, you know, how do we reach out to the local chapter leaders? What's the best way to do that? And Stephanie's been working very hard with HP to provide them with leading them to your contact information via spreadsheets that we put together, pointing them to the website to find your local chapter and your contact information, and trying to prepare you, as we are today, to work with HP. And my question to you is, are you ready? You are part of Vivit. And when people ask me, well, what is Vivit? I don't tell them it's just a user group of HP software. I tell them it's the official user group of HP software. With that designation comes responsibility. Comes with it, I am responsible for supporting HP software customers in my community. I may not support all the different software products that are being used there, but the goal of a Vivit chapter is eventually to have groups within the chapter that will focus on the various products that HP supports, sells to its customers, so we can make sure that the customers get that one-on-one experience with other customers. They get updates from HP software. They know who the partners are in the ecosystem that support HP software with their special integrations and tools and bringing the group together. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But as HP software acquires software, they've entrusted the user group for that software to Vivit, which means from a local chapter perspective, the goal is to find people that are using this tool that they've acquired, for example, Mercury, Peregrine, you name the tool, there should be users in your community that are using that tool. And we'll be working closely with HP to determine who these people are, to make sure that they're part of the Vivit chapter and hopefully teach them how to become leaders like yourselves, so that they can support the community there as well. And I'm an HP software partner, as you saw on the intro slide. I've been doing this a very long time. I've seen the evolution of HP products come and go or evolve or morph into something else. And I pulled up, we have guides as partners that kind of guide us on the various product centers, the categories, product listings. And as you can see, as of December 31st, 2013, there are 6 high-level solution areas, 15 solution centers, 91 products and services listed, and hundreds of more products beyond that. And believe me, I was working with Susan to try to build up a, we're going to be launching a campaign in February called Speak a Little Louder, where we want to make sure that everyone in your community fills out their profile of who they are, what chapters they want to be associated with, what products they're interested in, and part of that effort is making sure that we are tied into HP's, terminology on the names of the products and the solutions and those kind of things. For chapter leaders here on this call from Europe and EMEA, it's important, I feel, that your members become Vivit members and become Vivit members of your local chapter through our system. I know a number of the chapters in Europe have their own, they've got their privacy laws, and they've kind of built their own private list, but this is a great way to make sure that they stay on top of events that are happening from HP globally, updates on surveys, when we run elections for new board members and things like that, and they're from the EMEA world and they're not members of Vivit, it hampers our ability to support EMEA and your users if we can't get board members elected because their members aren't, they're not members of the Vivit community. So keep that in mind. Getting back to some of the solution areas, here's a listing, and it may not even be complete because I know that the trim stuff isn't on here. There are some new security applications that I was diving into last night that aren't on here as well, that are all part of HP software. This is a lot of stuff. As an OpenView Forum chapter leader in the years past, we were focused on network and system management and maybe some reporting tools that eventually came around. And we had plenty to talk about every quarter about those products and success stories and issues and how to fix this and how to update that. You can see now that there's a tremendous ability for us to grow our communities with a lot of different products and specialties. And from looking at, from my experience from our local chapter level support of products that we support within our group, the ones in red are the ones that I'm pretty comfortable that we have expertise in. Not in every chapter, but our chapters are made up of former Mercury groups. They're made up of former OpenView groups. So the leaders in those areas are focused in the areas that they know best. I don't see a lot of PPM yet. I don't see anything on the storage essential side or some of the client automation stuff or SOA or the evolution of cloud management stuff, the data center automation. So there's a lot of areas where we could have additional chapter leaders run groups within the chapter. And in the old days when we started the OpenView Forum, the goal was to have 2 chapter leaders, so in case one person couldn't do it, the other person could take over, or just basically building some high availability. Today, there could be 30 chapter leaders in a chapter because there's so many different products to support. It's going to be difficult for someone that's interested on the operations side to want to attend an application type event or a testing event. So the goal is to provide as many opportunities for people that want to be chapter leaders, to have that opportunity, and we can teach them how to do it. So what's the makeup of a local chapter? Well, since we've been established from actual user group acquisitions with HP software, or initially from the OpenView Forum days, these are some of the larger groups that make up Vivit today, the OpenView Forum user group, all the network and system management specialists out there using the HP software tools, which has led now into the BSM arena with integrations into the CMDB and into service management and beyond. The Mercury users that came along from the various PPM side, the testing, quality, load runner, BAC technologies around end-user application experience and some of the other tools that came along with that. The Peregrine user groups around service management or service center, now moving into the service management realm, and now service anywhere in the cloud computing world. TRIM, the folks from the data information group that we've acquired as well, or HP's acquired, is now part of the group, and many, many more that really we haven't given voice to yet within the community. And hopefully, with the help of HP and you as leaders, we can evolve into supporting these groups. Local chapter future makeup. Again, the point I want to make here is that the goal for a local chapter is to support HP software users in your community. And that means bringing the customers together, bringing partners together that support the ecosystem, and getting updates from HP on where they're going with the technologies. You provide a tremendous service to HP, the partners, and the user community when you have these events. And what I started doing in the Ohio chapter as we started slicing up the product suite to support the community is I created groups. So I have an ALM group. I have an OMC group. I've got an SMC group. So I work with leaders that are focused in that area, have a committed desire to support the community with the technology because they are technical in mind and in nature. They know the technology, and they see the value of bringing and networking with their community at a local or SIG level. So this is one way that I have found to be able to create a single Vivit, in this case, Ohio regional chapter, but yet have group meetings focused on specific areas that are relevant to the community within those groups. I don't expect someone from testing to want to learn about operations. Of course, now, there's that DevOps scenario coming through, and there might be more synergies as we dive into integration technologies that allow these groups to work closer together. But at this point, the goal here is to start building these groups within your chapter. And part of the requirement as a chapter leader at one time was to have a minimum of 2 chapter meetings a year. I didn't care if there was 3 people there or 500. As long as you had 2 meetings a year, you met your requirement as a chapter leader. Well, I found with all of these different things going on that I've been participating in, I'm doing about 10 or 12 chapter meetings a year between Ohio, Michigan, Chicago, Indianapolis sometimes. And it's a lot of work, very much appreciated by the community, and but it's not that difficult. And I'm going to talk about that a little more as we go through here. So again, the point I want to make about where the future, the chapter should be going is finding chapter leaders to support the new solutions for HP software. As they acquire software, there are sales reps from HP in the area that have to support these solutions. They're sliced up to support an ops or a apps environment, or they're focused in storage or whatever that solution may be. They're talking to customers. We need to be talking as chapter leaders to HP about engaging these people to get involved as part of the chapter. Stephanie's done a great job since she's been brought on board to support you as chapter leaders. You're not going to find anyone with the same enthusiasm or that kind of enthusiasm to support you and do whatever it takes to make sure that your chapter is successful. Look to HP to talk up Vivit to customers. Like I mentioned earlier, we are now part of that ecosystem within HP software. A lot of the representation, or many of the HP representatives in the community, are new to HP. They've seen that Vivit logo that you see in the bottom of our slides, and they just assume that we are part of the system. It's no longer a who are these guys? What does this group really do for HP software? They know the value there, and if they don't, have them call me, and I'll explain it to them. We all came from the HP ecosystem at some point or other. Your company acquired HP software. You as an administrator started using the tools. You started networking with other users, which eventually led to becoming the Vivit chapter as they are today. And the last I heard, when I started as a chapter leader, there was about 10 or 12 chapters around mainly the U.S., and that was it. I think the last I heard, there's like 60, 70 chapters around the world, 10 to 15 SIG groups. We have exploded. Our exposure in the Vivit software community has exploded in the last 12 to 18 months, and it's all in part to the efforts and the work that you have done as chapter leaders around the world. Just to give you a little demographics of what we're seeing from our demographics of the Vivit community, it's shifting. In the early days of the OpenView Forum, we were probably 95% or 90% practitioners. It was basically end users using the technology, wanting to learn more from each other, and taking it that way. And if you look at the chart on the pie chart on the left, it's definitely split up from practitioners to managers to directors, and even more executive than that. And what we're finding is that U.S. practitioners through the years have evolved. You're now in those management ranks. You now are leading departments in the areas that you started out as a practitioner in. And that's a good thing for everyone. You're growing your careers, and that's a big thing for Vivit. Our goal is to help you grow your career. You may not have heard this before, but we're trying to create leaders. We're trying to create skill sets in you that you may not have had before. The ability to speak in front of a group. The ability to put together a presentation that's coherent, that people will understand and perceive the value that you bring to the table. Be able to sell the value of the projects you're trying to get approved. All these things are the same skill sets that we try to teach as becoming a Vivit leader, facilitating events, bringing people together, making decisions. Pie chart on the right, years of experience with the technology. Our 29% have got 5 to 10 years of experience. 31% have even more than 10 years of experience. There's tremendous value and talent here in our space, and the markets are dying for your talent, believe me. What focus do we have as far as from a roles and top industry? So again, people that are Vivit members are made up of a lot of different things, from sales professionals like myself. Thank God we're the smallest part. We're engaging all the solution architects with HP to be engaged. We engage HP to be part of our community. If they're supporting you locally, they need to be part of the Vivit community. And a good example of that, I had an Ohio user group meeting just this past Tuesday, and 50% of the attendees were the HP folks that were either presenting from a solution architect perspective, or they were sales rep there supporting their customers. And the feedback from being in a room like that, where they're hearing customers talk about things that work, don't work, things that they want to learn more about, is just tremendous for everyone to take back and to make that something useful. But I look at the demographics. HP implementation specialists, solution administrators, practitioners, developers, managers, employees. And we cover all spectrums, all the vertical markets out there, because these technologies span markets, and the tools there are designed to work in any environment. So here's what we've been telling HP about working with you as chapter leaders. And this is why we're having this call today, is to make sure that you understand the tremendous value you bring as a chapter leader when HP makes that call. We're a trusted channel. What does that mean? Well, we're going to tell them the truth. This is not a marketing machine. We're going to tell you if we like what you're doing, what we don't like. We're going to tell you where the issues are. We've been doing this a long time. We are consistent. We've been doing this a long time. And you know what the changes at HP from top to bottom? It's something that they value tremendously. We know the community better than they do. We're easy to work with, or we should be. We've got years of experience in automated systems based on your feedback on how to run chapter events, how to set up the registration system, how to keep track of the users. And we're just going to get better at that. We're going to be providing more and more data specifically around product interests, product know-how, building our knowledge base of expertise on our website. So you'll be seeing a lot more coming out of that environment. Do we understand customers? Absolutely. We are customers. 50% of our membership are practitioners. Another bunch are managers and executives. They experience the HP technologies every day. HP wants to understand our perspective on things. They want that feedback. One of the things that I did a few years back, and I did it for a few years, was I would engage the HP product managers to run and present at, not run, but actually present at a Vivit Roadshow event. We would go from city to city in the Midwest, especially for me, in my case, around the operations management center area, M&M, OM, BSM, those type of technologies, and present, here's where we're going with the technologies, here's what we've done, here's why we've done it, what do you think? And believe me, the product managers got as much value out of presenting and hearing the feedback from people in the trenches, people actually using the tools, as much as the practitioners got listening to the presentations. They want the feedback. They need the feedback. Building relationships. This is a great place for the sales reps, HP sales reps, to meet their customers. A lot of times they're new in the field in software. They're new to the customers. And for you that you've been using these tools for a long time, it takes a long time to understand the technology, to understand how it works, how it integrates, the good, the bad, the ugly of the technologies. And the sales reps realize, I need to be coming to Vivit events to learn more about that experience. We are a channel for software updates. HP's got something new they want to talk about. They should be contacting chapter leaders and talking about setting up an event. I know the biggest issues when I was a chapter leader and manager running the chapter program was, okay, who am I going to get to present? Where am I going to get topics? It shouldn't be an issue anymore. So what else have we told HP? We told them to contact you. We provided information to HP of all the chapter leaders. We've given them information about product expertise in your chapter as much as we can. And so expect a call if you haven't gotten one already. HP's doing a number of road shows where they'll take their teams, bounce them from city to city to talk about specific updates, whether it's in the BSM space, service management, ALM, you name the topic, they are doing these road shows and they want help from HP. They understand that they need to build a relationship with Vivit leaders. And the value of being a Vivit leader is that you start to know who the HP representation is. You start getting your name exposed to HP. You become the voice of your local chapter. They're going to come to you because they know that you understand the focus and the topics covered in the chapter, and they can tie into whatever makes sense for you. You know, I look at this thing as when I'm planning an event, if I don't know what I want to talk about or don't have a real thought process around what topics we should talk about other than it should be specific to a specific domain of products, I send out an email. I build a list of my HP contacts through the years, and again, it does change every year. I send out a note saying, I'm planning an event around, for example, DSM. What's new? What should we be talking about? What do you think would be relevant for our community? And believe me, they will come back with topics and ideas. They will help you plan these events, and you determine the flow that makes sense for your group because you've done this over and over again. But take the content, massage it the way you want it presented, and take advantage of the opportunity of having HP come in and present. One of the things that I tell HP to do, once I create the invitation for the event, I send them the event with a link to the Vivit site that has the events. Please invite your customers. Vivit has a number of members that are part of the community, but we don't have them all. HP's talking to customers. They're talking to potential customers. What better value to a customer is knowing that there's a local group providing education and providing an opportunity to learn about the technology from other customers. That's something a lot of other companies can't offer, and we've been doing it for a long time. I typically take advantage of HP's ability to sponsor, a place. For example, if I can't find a customer to host an event, which is ideally what we try to do every time, because customers like to go to customer sites. And by the way, that customer can talk about, here's how we're using the tool. Here's the successes we've had with it. Here's where we've run into problems. Don't let this happen to you. You have an event at an end-user site, I guarantee that the participation will be much larger than if you have it at a generic hotel or meeting site somewhere. But if you can't pull that off, work with HP to sponsor a hotel room or some other location that can bring the users together. Raffles. Raffles and giveaways are great things to help promote getting people to come to events. We all like the little gifts. Vivit, I know that when I walk around or run events, I've always got something in my back pocket, whether they're screen protector type things or whatever, to hand out and share with the community. Vivit pins. So things like that, a gift card raffle, that all works great for HP. So again, this is the message to HP. If you want opt-in leads or people that are interested in learning more about your products, provide these kinds of things and you can do that. So I see HP resources as your new best friend. They have a lot to talk about, to share with your group. They have the skill set to present to your group. They will help you with location, HP offices, hotels. They may even talk to customers about hosting events. They will help you pay for just about everything for lunch, as long as it's reasonable and you give them time to determine what they can do, what they can't do. And we've had, believe it or not, I've had events where we've had wine, beer and wine in a hotel for a a technical roundtable discussion. And there's nothing more that loosens up people to talk about their concerns, their successes, than beer and wine. So I don't highly recommend that. I'm not pushing that, but I'm just saying it's possible. Let me just stop for a second to see if there's any questions so far. I've been talking for about 40 minutes, I think. Anything from you, Laura?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, that's okay. I just want to make sure I stop for air long enough to allow you to interrupt me.
No, there hasn't been anything yet.
Okay.
And just a reminder, if there is a question, the best way to ask it is just to type it into the questions pane.
That would have helped. Yeah.
Somebody raised their hand, so
Great.
wanted
Okay.
to point that out.
Great. Thanks, Susan. So back to preparing for HP. So like I mentioned before, HP is looking to find you and expect them to reach out to you in some marketing capacity or field folks wanting to work with you. And be prepared to answer the following questions. Practitioners of what product solutions? What areas does your chapter really focus on? What's the experience of the group? How many years has it been running? What groups do you have in the chapter today? How many events do you have a year? So I'll give you an example. For example, for my Ohio chapter, we're made up of an operations center group from the Open Bee Forum days. I've got 2 groups that are focused on ALM, both in the Cleveland area and the Columbus area. So they take turns putting on events and keeping it alive, and people drive back and forth within Ohio and other Pittsburgh, coming in from Cincinnati to these events. I work with another partner, with Stratacom, to support service management in Ohio. So Laura Walker works with me, and we put on service management events, and we rotate around the state. So it's not always at one place. We try to have them at customer sites. So it's a way of engaging the customers and building the community around that, and hopefully, and in the process, I've got 5 or 6 different chapter leaders focused in these different areas. So they get a chance to lead the discussion, plan the events, work with the HP counterparts, and become recognized as valuable cogs in the HP ecosystem. So be prepared for that. You are a Vivit chapter leader. You determine what gets presented, how it gets presented. You're in charge. You're a leader. That's why you're called a leader. You're part of the Vivit leadership program. And what I mean by that is it's our way of helping you grow your skill set so that you can speak confidently in front of a group. You know how to facilitate meetings. You bring people together. You make events happen. And I've been asked, well, I can only get 3 or 4 people together for an event. Is that still a chapter event? I said, absolutely. Anytime you bring more than 1 customer together to talk about the technologies that has made up their career, it's valuable information. For me, I don't care if you bring 2 people together or 100 people together. I'm the Vivit leader. I control what I think is valuable for our customers. And believe me, I've had events where partners or, it was getting to the point where they were marketing and saying, buy now, it's on sale, and I'd have to shut it down. Or I'd find that companies would have HR people there because they're looking to hire from other companies, and I have to shut that down. This is not about that. It's about helping people grow their skill sets. And again, as Vivit leaders, you're talking to customers, you're a customer yourself. It's very hard to get training, to pay for training. And we're talking with HP around training and Expert One, and you'll be seeing future events around how we can engage to take advantage of some of those kind of things.
We do have some questions.
I'll take one.
All right. Laura, is there a particular one you'd like to address first?
Yeah, my screen is just stuck, so I'm trying to expand it so that I can see the question.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'll go ahead if that's all right.
Yeah,
David has. Okay. David Hunt has a question. Actually, he has two. Actually, he has three. If we want to host an event, how do we communicate that to the broader Vivit community that may not be a member of our SIG? And that ties into if I want to organize a webinar via Vivit, how do I go about that? Very good questions, David.
You bet. If you have a local chapter event and you want to go beyond the boundaries of a local chapter, you know, I'm always, in fact, I just did it. I've got 2 more events planned in part of my roadshow. I've got one in Detroit, one in Chicago. I'll have 3 events by the end of February under my belt. And so I'm using LinkedIn as a vehicle to promote. I have personally, my LinkedIn connections is over, I think it's like 1,400 people, mainly made up of HP and customers. You can promote it on the Vivit LinkedIn areas or the HP software LinkedIn areas. There's Facebook from an HP software perspective. There's a lot of ways to promote it that way. Also, you can talk to, go ahead, Susan.
Yep, I was going to say, if you want to organize a webinar, we're always looking for great content. We can never have enough. You'll want to contact Stephanie Concoy, and we will work with you to schedule a date, get the content up, get it posted on the website. And what we do now for special interest group webinars, since they're really for members worldwide, is we send an email notice out to members about any upcoming web events. So that's how we can reach the broader community. We also promote them in the newsletter. So David, I do encourage you to contact Stephanie. As I mentioned, we love to have a variety of content and topics. So thank you for asking that. David also asks, the other day he was asked, what does Vivit mean, if anything? So how was the name Vivit chosen? What does it mean? So I'm happy to take that, unless you want to, Rocky, because you are the godfather and have been around since day one.
Well, I was in the room when it was selected, so I was on the board, and the reason the word Vivit came up, we used to be the OpenView Forum, and as HP acquired software, especially after the acquisition of Mercury, it decided to drop the words from the various product groups, not groups, from the various product companies. So OpenView, Mercury, Peregrine, all the names we still use today to differentiate the product categories were removed. Legally, we had to change our name. We could not use the word OpenView anymore. So there was a number of names that went up from very generic forum type names, and you know, we wanted something new, something different, and Vivit was the term that stuck. And what does Vivit stand for? Well, it's Latin for alive. And you hear the word viva. It all stems from Vivit, which is Latin. And we thought, you know, that would be give us a fresh, new name. And like anything, at first people are going, what's Vivit or Vivit or, you know, whatever. So we struggled for a couple of years, just like any new entity does, with branding. But at this point, that's how it got started, and that's how it stuck.
Okay. Chuck has a question. How do you propose addressing the balance of focused groups like ALM, SMC, OM, to expanding the value of a broader solution approach for members, such as ITPS or, in general, integration across solution areas? Do you invite your separate groups to a single joint meeting? Very good question, Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck, it's something that I struggle with all the time, or I struggle with it. I don't struggle with it anymore, I guess. But in the days when we were starting to bring these groups together, we'd have in the morning we'd have an ALM event, in the afternoon we'd have an operations event. But the problem is that there's just so much to talk about that they used to overlap it even beyond lunch. But I think our SIG groups that we're seeing that are sprouting up that are focused on more of the generic, overreaching technologies might be a place for that, or just having if HP can talk to these topics at a more tactical level, because most of our members, just like you, Chuck, are technical in nature. You want to see product, you want to see demos, but yet at the executive level, they want to see, from a 10,000-foot view, what's this going to do for my company? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have a great answer today, but I think it's something we can talk about and maybe document down the road. But there is, there is a lot of synergies of bringing these technologies closer together so that we're all on the same page from the DevOps arena, from PPM all the way through. I mean, the HP has always been a great company focused on integrating the products and not keeping them separate. So the CMDB has a lot to do with it and other integration points, so that when I build out a project and it goes to the testing area and it meets all the testing requirements and we make it operational, how do we make sure that all of it keeps going as we evolve the solution that we propose? So I think there's a lot of room for discussion there.
And we do have some chapters, like the Germany chapter and the Midwest chapters, who do hold events with several different tracks, bringing together the different users, the different products.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I have seen some chapters, Susan, where they'll have like a keynote to kick off the event, and they have multiple rooms where they're able to split up, almost like a mini conference, and have an ALM session and then a operation session, for example, but they got the overreaching message to kick it off in kind of a keynote. So there's a lot of ways to work with it.
Chuck Masters, hi Chuck, another Chuck here. He has a good question. If he already has a relationship with HP sales reps, is it better to go to them for chapter support meetings or go through HP marketing?
I would maintain the relationship with the HP sales rep, but I know that HP marketing now has a new focus on handling. The HP sales rep is going to go to HP marketing and ask them, I need resources for this Vivit event. But again, I maintain that you keep all the relationships you have and let them tell you how they want to work. But the word that we got from HP marketing was, we're going to be handling the relationship to support the local chapters with speakers, presentations, updates, all that fun stuff. We will handle all the logistics so that the sales rep doesn't have to worry about his expense report for lunch and how is he going to justify it or get it approved, so that it's much more organized than ever this year. And as we reach out to both the HP Marketing Americas engine and the HP Marketing EMEA engine, they have a plan of attack to slice and dice the chapter activity and support it. Any other questions?
Not that I see.
Hand go up, but maybe.
Yep, a hand went up. Amit, I will try to unmute you, and we'll see what happens.
Hello.
Vivit?
Can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I have a quick question. So I am from HP Software itself. So can I still be a part of the team from Vivit? So
Where are you located?
I'm located in India, Bangalore, and I'm a pre-sales consultant over here, and keep on interacting with lots of folks in the partner community and all. So I was wondering, can I still be a part of the Vivit community, as in part of the chapter, local chapter?
Absolutely. So Vivit always likes to have customers, partners, and HP at the same table. It's a great way for our members to provide feedback, for you to get that feedback. And if, I'm not sure if there's, if you want to help assist, lead a chapter, technically it's only customers and partners who can lead, but you can be what we call like a chapter champion to help in the area, get things rolling, identify a customer or partner who would like to become a leader. There's a variety of ways to be involved. And we do not exclude HP. Absolutely not.
Oh, no.
Sounds great.
So you're very important to the community, and especially with everything that's happening at HP, we need that relationship.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Well, let's move on, and we'll answer a few more once we get done, because I know we're running close to the end of the hour, but I'm willing to continue on here as long as others are willing. So what's HP going to ask you about? Well, they're planning roadshows, as I mentioned earlier, and they're going to want you to help promote these HP events that they're running, and they're going to ask you to participate. In other words, you'll get a chance to speak to the group to talk about who Vivit is and why it's important to that community. And tell you, I did one of these things with HP in Cincinnati a few months back, and beautiful hotel, beautiful venue, 30, 40 people were in the room, and HP was talking about the products, and there was a customer presentation, and I kind of used my experience as a Vivit leader to try to get the conversation going with the people in the audience about their experience with the tools. And believe me, the discussion starts happening, and people really learn from each other. So as a leader, you add value to this roadshow event. So I encourage you to take advantage of that and get the exposure, speak in front of the room, explain to them who Vivit is, and if they want to join, to go ahead and sign up, because we'll take care of that.
Rocky, we have one more question that just came in.
Okay.
If we want to run a webinar, is there a specific Vivit facility we should use, or can we use our own facility?
It's a good question. Vivit has a GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting type tool that we use for events. And that way it's structured within the Vivit portal. We invite them. We help keep track of the registrations, those kind of things. We do have the ability, if someone has their own tools, to put on basically a Vivit webinar or Vivit event around a particular topic area. We can, you can do that as well. So I think, again, for best practices, check in with Stephanie, and we kind of determine what makes sense. But I think both options are available.
Okay, we have one more before you move on. Can we create a LinkedIn group and a Twitter account for our local chapter?
Yeah, I think so. I heard the first part or the second part was a Twitter group. What was the first part of that, Laura?
A LinkedIn group.
LinkedIn group?
Yeah, so we have a Vivit group on LinkedIn, and what we're recommending is that chapters create a subgroup under the Vivit LinkedIn group, so everyone can get news specific to where you are or where they're located. So I will send you my email through chat here, Simone, and you can contact me. This is Susan Russell.
Anything else? Good. All right, best practices when partnering with HP. So ideally, have as much information about your chapter available so that you can have a conversation about, here's our strengths, here's what we have, here's what we don't have, so that you can build a program with HP Marketing to support you. We're going to have a list of HP Marketing folks in the different regions, so if you're looking for help, instead of waiting for HP to contact you, contact Stephanie, and she will put you in touch or make the connection for you with HP Marketing in your region. You know, prepare chapter meeting content agenda. You're in charge of this, as I mentioned earlier. You control the flow that you think best works for your organization, but I'm always very flexible. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, if I wait till everything is perfect to set up and advertise an event, it will not happen. I start with the location. I start with a general topic area. I start promoting, hey, we're having an event this date around these topics, and as it gets confirmed, we will let you know who's speaking. And believe me, it changes every day. I did a roadshow with HP with product managers. I didn't know till the day before the meeting who was actually going to present, because people got, airlines got messed up, or weather, or someone got sick, but, the show must go on. I make sure that we have an event, and believe me, if someone doesn't show up to present, it's a great time to network and just kind of talk to each other about best practices. So don't feel like you have to have everything perfect on the agenda before you get started, because it will not happen. It's just too hard. I go with the flow. If I can get people together, and again, I've done this in Michigan. Brad Clark said, look, I want to have an event where there's no presentations. We just sit here and talk about topics. And, it went over great. We had 3 or 4 hours. We broke up into tables. We rotated around. We shared the feedback that we learned from each other. And it was a great event. You can have an event without even having a topic. Just bringing your group of like practitioners together in a room. Try to give yourself yes.
We are back at the top of the hour, so I think we probably better wrap it up at this point.
Okay. Well, in the presentation, there's just a lot of best practices that you can use. One of my key things is making sure that you build your HP contact list. That way, every time you put out an event or you're planning an event, you can refer to that and make sure that they're aware of what's going on. And there's just a bunch of real-world things that have worked for me and others in the chapter to make it a success and to make it move forward. And I find that, if you have a hard time starting your first meeting, once you start having your meetings, it gets real easy to have the next meeting. My goal when I leave a meeting is finding leaders or someone to present for the next one, finding a location to host the next one, and before you know it, everything just kind of falls apart, falls together. So just a lot of great stuff about how to bring it back to life and leveraging, making these events successful. So the last slide here is all about future topics. We're going to be having a session with Expert 1 that wants to talk to you about getting exposure to the community. And these are the folks that provide HP training and certification. We'll be talking with HP regional marketing areas. We're talking about doing monthly training of Vivit training sessions where you learn how to use the tools that Stephanie has set up so you can run events. learning how to network with HP more, talking about your local chapter page and making it more intuitive, making it more interactive, promoting your events on social media, and any other suggestions you have. So this is the team that helps you day to day. Susan's on the marketing side. She's working with a lot of the HP folks. She runs our operations. I volunteer and work with sponsorship to help promote partners in HP into the HPs, into the Vivit community. And Stephanie does all the great work with the chapters and SIGs. And I think we're done unless we have questions.
I don't see any additional questions right now, Rocky.
Okay. Well, again, you can, let's see if I can go back. If you have questions, feel free to send them to us, and we'll address them. But I appreciate the time that you've taken today to be with us. I think it's pretty important. I know from experience that running these events makes me feel good when people come up to me and say, hey, thanks for bringing us together. And that's the message I'm going to leave you with. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We hope you'll join us for the next Vivit training that we have for leaders. And have a great weekend, everybody.